So when it comes to any skill-based movements such as squats and bench press, we tend to program it in the lower rep range, generally in the 1 to 5 range rather than the higher one. This is because even though high rep ranges really stimulate a lot of muscle growth, it is extremely taxing on the body, and so the total number of sets that can be performed throughout the week or even in one session is quite low. And because the skill needs to be trained, one must practice the groove, effectively making their nervous system much more efficient at executing the movement. Now, unlike multiple repetitions spread across different sets versus, let's say, doing one giant set consisting of a large number of repetitions, you'll notice that in the large set, each successive repetition becomes exponentially difficult until you hit failure. But the point here is that one must train each of those repetitions as fresh as possible. Now, you might say that then why not just do one rep per set? Because then there's another concern of doing optimum volume. So if you were to do, let's say, 10 total sets with 3 minutes gap, that would be 30 minutes, and or even more if you're at a commercial gym or in a hurry. Overall, it's not very efficient method of training. And also regarding skill works the best when we train it frequently, as in the number of sessions per week is also increased rather than just doing one full-on session to failure. You see, you can think of it this way: there are multiple variables that recover in any exercise. So we have muscles, we have joints, we have the CNS, and all of these three recover at different paces. The idea is to make sure that all of these three variables recover at a same rate. And so let's say the most difficult parameter can easily be the joint if you are someone who's gone through injury before. The second parameter would be muscle, and the last one, the one that recovers very easily, will be your CNS. So if we really go hard and we are kind of sort of limiting the number of sessions per week, that is the frequency, effectively bottlenecking it at the level of joint recovery. So when performed in the 3 to 5 rep range, let's say squats, I'll take the example of squats only for now. It is the perfect sweet spot, the 3 to 5 rep range, where you're practicing enough number of repetitions and also kind of preserving enough resources and energy for successive sets, thereby maximizing stimulus and minimizing fatigue. Now, if you're a follower of old school bodybuilding, you might be familiar with Tom Platz and how he used to push himself in 20 repetition squats, which would effectively challenge everything, but he would squat only once in 15 days, and he had the most impressive pair of quads in the history of bodybuilding. But the thing here is that this strategy might not work for everyone, and it's certainly not the best strategy to go about sustainably. You can't sustain a 20 rep squat. Your program isn't just squat focused. You have other variables that need to be taken into consideration. You have other exercises that you're trying to improve as well. So the best way to go about improving the squats is in the low rep range, and the excess volume can be trained through accessory movements. So for example, you can train the leg press for in the higher rep range, do the leg extensions, and then you can very easily rotate, catering to your own weaknesses. Based on your anthropometry, it can be different. So for example, if you are someone with longer femurs, there's much more forward knee travel, which simply means that compared to two athletes of the same height, the one with longer femurs has more stress on the knee joint, effectively, assuming they're doing high bar, of course. Both are doing the same pattern of squat, high bar squat. There will be more knee stress in the athlete with longer femurs, and so based on that, the athlete might need to train their the quad muscles slightly more to prevent any bottleneck, injury, and inefficiencies in the movement. Whereas, let's say someone is forced to do low bar squat for some reason because of excess forward knee travel, which might get unbearable at higher weights, and so they might need to train their back muscles slightly more than someone doing the high bar squat. So rather than just repeating the movement again and again and kind of preserving the bottleneck, it's much better to train intelligently and focus on your own weaknesses, local weaknesses, and rotate that, address bottlenecks and things of that nature. You can think of the same thing when it comes to bench press. If you are someone who's doing naturally taking a closer grip with much higher emphasis on the triceps, then you would need much more tricep work. So you're better off adding a bit of tricep accessories at the end of your bench press, or have a dedicated one. It really depends on how you are programming, but the point here is that not every strategy will work the same for everyone. And so the point here is that if we keep on doing the same exercise again and again, let's say just doing the squatting to improve squat, then we are kind of preserving the bottlenecks, because the most adaptation happens in the weakest link, followed by the strongest muscle groups is the one that kind of gets the least stimulus in the exercise. And also there's a question of quality. Are your repetitions the exact same, which is quite rare in my opinion, because under duress, when your metabolic system gets challenged, there's lactic acid accumulation, your form tends to break down, and so beyond a certain threshold of form preservation, those last repetitions kind of reinforce the wrong neural pattern, so thereby you're almost losing your skill. You're training your movement in a contorted fashion, so effectively you will need to work on your skill again. This is something that I've noticed personally. I've had issues maintaining my torso when I first started squatting. So I would effectively do kind of a good morning hybrid, where every time I came out of the bottom, my torso would lean forward, and then I would sort of good morning the weight up. So basically, let's say this is the bottom position. This is the bottom position, and then go up. I would tilt forward, and then it would be a good morning. So you'll be able to notice the two distinct stages of the squat. And what I would do was keep doing high repetition squat, effectively preserving the error basically. And so the point I'm trying to make is that volume must be done, but it must be done in an intelligent fashion. And when it comes to strength, most of your sessions must be done submaximally, so you're not really pushing yourself that hard. I mean, there's a common misconception that if you PR every week, or the more you PR, the more stimulus it'll give you, but it's almost like it comes at a cost of higher recovery time, lower frequency. And so these are kind of compensatory mechanisms that kind of take away from optimal stimulus. So it's like area under the curve, right? If you have multiple smaller stimulus, they all add up to a much higher value than just going all out in one session. And the smaller sessions are trailing, so the first session you can sort of launches you into a better position, and then the second session you feel even better. Of course there are exceptions, because in some sessions you would need to go really hard, and then the follow-up would be naturally auto-regulated, deloaded, that based on how you're programming. But the point I'm trying to make is that it is a game of optimization rather than just going hard and heavy every single time. But when it comes to bodybuilding, the accessory work, that's where you really need to go intense. Now, of course, you can choose volume focused accessory work and go intense in some. So for example, let's say in leg extension, I prefer going slightly higher reps, lower intensity. But for the leg press and movements that kind of closely mimic the squat pattern, I like going really hard on the exercise. And so these are just my 2 cents on how to go about improving any strength lift. Drop your comments below, let me know what you think, whether your opinion differs from mine, whether you've found better results doing higher rep squats. And I have my email in the description box below. Feel free to contact me, or if you are looking for coaching, make sure to send me a mail. See you again. Thank you.